Hello, this video is an introductory course video for Math 2414 Calculus 2 during summer 18 second 8-week period. And this video is to kind of help you guide your way sort of through the class because, sometimes this might be your first online class, or in general, knowing where to start is important. So jump right in, and what should I do first? I'm going to walk you through everything here. So hopefully that'll get you ready to kind of jump right into the content where you're not so confused on what you need to be doing. So with that being said, now you can log in two ways. You can log in from the Lone Star homepage, through My Lone Star that way, or you can log in only through LSC Online will work. That's what I'm going to choose to do here. I don't really need any information from My Lone Star right now. It would also bring up emails and stuff like that. So here we go. I'm going to click on class login. Alternate login down there at the bottom usually works pretty well. Sometimes that's a good way to log in, even if I believe that can work. Sometimes even if My Lone Star is messed up, you can still get to the online class by that route. All right, now some of you, if you're familiar with D2L, so if you're not, this will be all brand new to you, but maybe you took a course in the spring and haven't taken any courses this summer. They've sort of changed their screen a little bit, so I'm kind of walking through it myself. I'm not going to be 100% sure on certain things either, but we'll get it done here. They changed the format of it here, and I think they're changing the name of it to something called, I don't know, daylight, dark night, light bright. I don't know whatever it is. But anyway, it wasn't too bad when they made that change. I can kind of still figure out what's going on, but it definitely looks different. So if you've had courses with us before via D2L, I'm not even sure. In fact, I used to know how to change this over to student mode. Was real easy to do, to look at it in your perspective. But I'm not even sure how to do that anymore. But anyway, main thing is I know how to navigate around the course. All right, so of course, by the time you watch this video, I probably will have already put an announcement there saying that the video is ready. So I'm going to go. The main things are content, grades, course activities. Those are the main. I don't think course management, if there's anything in there you have to worry too much about. No. Content, though, that's where all the stuff is for the course. And let's see what we got here. I'm going to click over here, kind of back to the course content menu. And there's the link to this video. So if you wanted to watch it again or miss something first time, well, I know he said something about something, and then you could go back and listen if you needed to. But anyway, here's the #1 document here. So this folder, course syllabus, other assorted documents, that's sort of like my dumping ground just for a variety of files or whatever. Other stuff I have organized by specific module names, like notes and videos. All right. But anyway, let's just kind of walk through the syllabus real quick. So that'll be there anytime for you to look at the details. Now, if you prefer to do this in a full screen mode, you just come down here and go download, and it'll turn it to a PDF, and that way we can kind of see it on full screen. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, I'm not going to read a lot of this, obviously. That'd be kind of a waste of your time. Let's get to the highlights here. Hopefully there aren't any mistakes on it. So usually sometimes there's something I need to tweak, but looks okay. Learning outcomes, all right. The official book for this course, now notice when I say the word official, is this University Calculus Early Transcendentals, 3rd edition. However, I am not requiring specific assignments from that textbook, which we'll get to later. You can technically use any textbook that you have, since there are no assignments required. But if you have a MyMathLab code for this book and you want to use its resources, if you want to buy a code, but you don't have to, there's the course ID that will get you into it. Perhaps if you want to do it for extra practice, whatever that's the case, or maybe you've used this book for Cal 1 possibly, or you still should be able to use that code, not have this course ID and not have to buy a new code. But let me kind of get back, and I'll show you something else here in a minute regarding the textbook. But you don't have to have that. But you might want to have some sort of book if you could. Graphing calculator, well, I say strongly recommended. Well, we're not going to be doing any graphing in this course, but TI 83s, 84s, Inspire CX, and there's that new one, the TI CE. That's okay, but I do have a restriction on when I give the information for the exams. I don't allow. I don't think TI 92s even really exist anymore, but TI 89, 92, or the Inspire CAS. So if it has CAS up there in the corner, if it can do algebraic stuff, I don't like that. I don't care about numerical, so that's why a calculator's fine to do numerical calculations, no problem. But I don't like anything that can do the algebra for you. So if it can do symbolic derivatives, like for example, there's some stuff where we're going to be doing finding integrals that are definite integrals. You can use the calculator. Once you know how to set up the integral, you can use the calculator for that. That's fine, but not where it's algebraic. All right, well, I guess that statement about clearing the memory, blah, 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 that only applies to a face-to-face class. I couldn't exactly do that for an online class. But anyway, a book that we have, which I'll talk about here in a minute, that I have in D2L, but Larson book, there's this website called calcchat.com that it's like having a solution manual where you can look at how the solutions for odd number problems are done. That's if you're using the Larson book, which I'll talk more about here in a little bit. So homework, I have some practice problems listed for that Larson book. I don't for the early transcendental, the book they're using now, do not have a practice list. But you can kind of, if you're using that, you can probably follow along. If you look at my examples, you can kind of follow along with the problem. I certainly wouldn't do the most difficult ones in the sections by any means. So if you have time to be able to practice a little bit, that's always good to help sharpen your skills. At least this being an 8-week class, you may actually have more time. I just got through teaching a 4-week Cal 1, which obviously time is kind of tougher in those classes, but you got a little more time with this being 8 weeks. Now let's see. So we're looking to see how we get a grade in here. We have these what's called these 10 take-home quizzes. Now, I call them quizzes. They're more like homework sets. The reason why is but they're not from a specific book. I'm going to show them to you in D2L after I finish the syllabus. They are questions that everybody will be, solving the same set of questions, so it's not book dependent. But they're more like homework because you have the questions in advance. You work them out to the best of your ability to get the answers. Then you'll go into D2L and submit your answers. It's not like an exam where you're taking an exam in real time, you're actually not seeing the problems in advance, you're working it out. But this one, you already, don't take the quiz live, you actually work them in advance. There's 10 of them, and the lowest 4 will automatically be dropped. So if you miss a deadline on one or whatever happens, that's, you're okay. Just don't blow off too many on purpose. Do your best to get your best 6 scores. So the 6 scores, I'll average those up. So if you have, 6 100s on those 10 quizzes, you would have a quiz grade of 100. But I'll show you that in D2L here in a little bit after I finish. So we have 3 in-class, I call them in-class, I should say proctored exams, because it's not an in-class class, but that's the same thing. Proctored. In addition to a final exam. The final exam is not dropped. It has to count. So I'll talk about more of the exam methods here. The exam methods are going to be automatically, they're sent to every Lone Star testing center. I'm going to allow Proctor U, which I'll talk a little more about, but Proctor U, you have to take it on the deadline. And then if you're somewhere that has a valid testing center, let's say, I don't know, let's say you're in Austin right now and you want to take your test at, for example, the University of Texas Testing Center, that would be fine. You know, you have to pay a fee with them. Lone Star will be no fee. It'd be free. And you go to any Lone Star center you want. I often get emails about that, even though I'm based out of UP. And if you live, for example, up near Conroe and you want to take your test at Montgomery campus, perfect. Take them anywhere in the Lone Star system that you like. Now, it says here for the first 3 exams, you're allowed to use 8.5 by 11 sheet of notes, one side only. And then for the final, you're allowed to use both sides, one sheet with both sides. Here's the deadline for the finals. We'll talk more about exam deadlines and stuff here when I go and we're back to D2L. Now, here's what you have as far as to get a grade. They're all equally weighted at 25%. We have 4 scores: exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, and the quiz grade, the quiz average. The lowest of those 4 will be dropped. So it might be possible. I mean, I wouldn't recommend this. I mean, for most people, the quiz grade will need to count. You know, we'll need to help them. But I've seen people that, you know, if they've done really well in the class, the quiz grade was actually the lowest and it got dropped. But that's pretty rare. Now, so the lowest of those 4 is automatically dropped. Now, I put a little note here in the exams because I often get, in fact, I did in the Cal 1 class, about 3 emails asking the following questions. So hopefully this will help clarify that. Some students had done really well in the first 2 exams, and they go, can I just choose not to take exam 3 and count it as a drop? They were worried that did they have to actually physically take the exam to be able to drop it? And I told them, no, there's no difference. For example, let's say you have a quiz average of 100 or whatever, that's fine, or 95, whatever, and that's going to count. And let's say you made 100 on exam 1 and a 96 on exam 2, and you didn't want to take exam 3. Well, there's no difference between, you know, so let's say you took exam 3 and made a 80, or you didn't take exam 3 and you made a 0. Well, there's no difference between 80 and 0. If it's the lowest of those 4 scores, it will be dropped. So, and I don't blame those people for checking, but I thought I would try to clarify that explanation a little bit better now. So maybe you won't have to ask me that then or whatever. So now I don't recommend it. Certainly not the first 2. Well, I mean, if you, I wouldn't choose not to skip one of the first 2 exams on purpose. You know, the idea is to take them. That's only if you maybe did really, really well on the first 2 and I don't know, and you didn't want to take the 3rd one, but I wouldn't use that as a strategy on the first 2 exams by any means. Usually, just to give you a heads up, exam 2 is generally the hardest of the 3 exams in Cal 2. So yeah, I would give it your best shot. Then it turns out being, you know, your worst one, then you can always have it dropped later if your quiz grade. So the quiz grade has to count. So you can't drop an exam and the quiz grade both. I often get that question asked too, even in my face-to-face classes. So they ask, you know, the student will ask me, so you're dropping the lowest exam, right? And I said, well, only if the quiz grade counts. So the lowest of those 4 will be dropped. So you have to you can't have a dropped quiz grade and a dropped exam. All right. Okay, I'm not going to read through all this. Let's see. Exams. Here are the exam deadlines, but I'll show them to you in D2L. Now, if you are using a proctored testing center, whether it's Lone Star or somewhere else, now, of course, you want to get to me quick. Don't wait too late. If you're using an outside testing center, don't email me the day before, you know, the exam deadline. You know, give me a couple, 3 days at least in advance. But anyway, very important to realize that these are proctored testing centers. Proctor U is a little bit different. These are deadlines. I often get questions regarding this topic. Deadlines. That means, because theoretically, if you wanted to, I'm not necessarily recommending this, but you could work in advance if you felt like it. You could, you know, if you felt like you wanted to accelerate the course a little bit and finish a little early, you can. So that just means that's the last day to take it at a proctored testing center. Now, ProctorU is different. Now, ProctorU is that service where you have to pay, and they'll proctor you via webcam on your computer. But just for test security reasons, since I don't really, I'm not confident in, if someone destroys a test, is it really destroyed? I make those deadlines are the day you have to take the ProctorU exam. But that doesn't mean you have to be at a testing center. You can take that anywhere that you have Wi-Fi access. But so those, you can take any exam early up to and including that date. But ProctorU will be on the test date, those deadline dates. Anytime during that day. I'll talk. Well, actually, let me talk about it. Well, actually, I'll wait till I get to the deadlines and the exams, and I'll bring up ProctorU exam. Let's see. Proctored exams. Now, it's very important that you pay attention to the days and hours that they're open. Every once in a while, somebody say, "Well, I didn't know." Yeah, well, you got to pay attention. That I had somebody last semester miss a test because they'd been taking their exams on Monday through Thursday, which the testing center had a later deadline, and they didn't realize that they didn't have the same deadline on a Friday. Well, that's what you got to pay attention to. You got to know what the hours are for the testing center you're using, whatever day you go. Just because it closes at 7 p.m., during the week, certainly doesn't mean it's going to be open until 7 p.m. on Friday or Saturday. They would close much early. So you have to just verify those times, and that's up to you to verify when they're open. I always said the time limits are way more than you need. They're usually about 4 hours or so, but you have to get there at least an hour before they close, but I wouldn't wait that close either. You want to make sure you give yourself the proper amount of time. I think I do 4 hours for the regular exam and maybe 5 for the final, but so that's plenty of time. So you won't need the exams are all going to be multiple choice. The first 3 exams are 20 questions each, and then the final is 25. Okay, D2L, blah blah blah. Okay, the rest of this is just something we don't need here, just all the documentation I have to put in a syllabus here. So, all right, let's see if I can get back to. Let's see. If I X out that, am I going to lose my? No, I'm not. There it is. All right, so you see there's the syllabus, so that's there anytime you need it. Let's go back and look what's in here. Course intro video. Okay, well, I don't do this for all 3 exams, but I do this for the final to help sort of narrow your study. I don't know where I came up with that. Narrow your study. Probably tried to say simplify. For the final, but I have exam reviews, but the final I specifically have this. Just tells you doesn't tell you the questions with the numbers, but it tells you the topics of what. And you see what section it comes from. This is from the Larson book, which I'll show you here in a minute. All right, so that's a convenient document that you certainly want to look over as it gets near time for the final exam. Help trim your study down a little bit. These are homework lists for the Larson 9th and Larson 10th book. I've been the last couple of semesters. I've changed where I've been using the students to let them make their own sheet instead of providing formula sheets. This is a document right here that has a list of formulas that I would have normally provided in the class. But so what you can do is, that's not provided with the exams, but it'll stay here for you, and you can make your it doesn't typed, handwritten, but you could like cut and paste formulas off this document onto a Word document and do it that way. And then, you can handwrite stuff if you want to. You can print stuff. So you can use whatever you want off of this, but you just have to transfer it over to your personal sheet that you're allowed to bring. So, but you can cut and paste. Same thing with this trig. So you won't need, we won't need a lot of trig. Well, you need some trig derivatives and stuff. That's something you would have to put on there. This is just basic trig with unit circle and all this We'll have a couple sections where we have to use all this SOHCAHTOA stuff, and so this is up to, a lot of stuff we want. The double angle formula, we'll need that sine double angle formula. So a lot of this, and you want a lot of this stuff at the bottom, you absolutely won't really need. Now these product of sums that we need, we will use those in one small part of the course, but I always provide that formula on the problem that it's to be used. So I'll give you that formula. So this is up to you how much of this trig stuff you feel like you need to put on your sheet. So if you know a lot of this already, then you wouldn't have to put much on there. Once again, you could cut and paste. You can just copy stuff off there, whatever you want to do. And here's some like basic derivatives and integrals from Cal 1 stuff. Like I said, if you know a lot of that, you wouldn't need to put it down. So it's all kind of using your space wisely. So let's talk about the quizzes here for a minute. Scroll down and all right. The quizzes are right over here. There's actually a quiz 0. I added this quiz in a couple semesters ago, and I decided instead of renumbering all the other ones, I said, we'll call this one 0. And actually, what this quiz is some basic derivative and antiderivative stuff from Cal 1 to kind of refresh you on that, kind of focus on. I thought I should have my Cal 1 notes in there somewhere too. So what you do is you open up the PDF document. Of course, you can download it like I was showing you before. I'm not worried about downloading it now. You go through here, work all these out, come up with all your answers, because you're going to submit this quiz only one time. It's not like if you were doing sort of like a My Math Lab homework or something where you can go submit a few, come back, go back later, back and forth. Yeah, this one you want to submit all at once. So you want to work them out. Of course, you want to pay attention to each deadline too. So get them worked out. So when you have them worked out, you feel like you're ready to submit your answers. Let me go back over here. And that's the way all 10 quizzes, 0 through 9, that's 10 quizzes. That's the way these 10 quizzes will be handled. And we go up here, course activities, quizzes. And this is actually where your exams are located too. So, because I think what you'll do is, now notice, that's how you'll find your exam. But you notice the exam has a little lock right there. It's password protected. So what you would do, whether it's ProctorU or using the testing center, you'd log into your D2L. You'd go what I just did right there, and you'd find the exam. You bring the exam up, and then the proctor will know the password to enter for you. Now the quizzes are not password protected, but do not start the quiz until you're, like I said, you've done all the questions. So you'll come over here, you'll click on the quiz, and well, okay, this looks different from the instructor's point of view. I believe from the student point of view, it'll say something like start quiz or start, and you'll hit some button, start and answer. Once again, I still haven't figured out how to get into student view under the new system here, but anyway, that's not what yours will look like. But this is what you'll do. You'll go in there, start quiz. You'll go through carefully and pick all your answers. One thing, I believe it was in the syllabus. I believe I accidentally skipped over it though, but I'll just say it verbally. But then you can always read it if you don't remember what I said. Is that I don't know why it does this, but sometimes it. I'll go back to course content. It will scramble the answer choices around. It can't. Well, the numbers won't change. For example, if you work out a problem and you know the answer is 4 pi. That is the answer. The numbers aren't going to be different, but what can happen is on the PDF file, 4 pi might be answer B, but then when you go to mark it on that same quiz question, it's answer D. But if you know the answer is 4 pi, it's not a trick. Pick 4 pi. So just go through carefully. Now, I set these quizzes time limits an hour, but keep in mind an hour is not to work the problems. An hour is to enter your answers. So, yeah, so obviously, you know, it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, but I just set it for an hour just so, you know, you don't have to rush through and the scrambling thing won't necessarily be an issue. So this is important here. Now check out, see, all these quizzes have deadlines. So you have to open it up. So if you open it up before 11 p.m., so you could open it up at 10:30, you'll still get a full hour to enter those answers. Like I said, you won't really need them, but so that's the deadline to open it is 11 p.m. each of those days. Every one of them is 11 p.m., but they're different dates, so you have to get them, you know, opened up and taken care of before the deadlines. There's everything, and you see the exam deadlines here. Now let me mention something about the exams. Of course, 11 p.m. is not practical if you're using the testing center. You have to go in there to their whatever hours they are open. But this is very important because I've had issues with this, and I don't want to deal with these kind of issues anymore. It'll be your fault if you're using ProctorU and you mess this up. ProctorU. I'm going to set a deadline to set your appointment up for ProctorU at 10 p.m., not 11, because we cannot do this at 11. I had this happen before, where someone would make an appointment for 10:50. It takes the proctor, it takes a little while to get it set up. I say a little while, maybe 20 minutes. I think you have to show your webcam around the room, and there's just a bunch of, it's different than going to a testing center and walking in and sitting on a computer and starting. You have a little bit of time involved. So if you make your appointment by no later than 10 p.m., that gives them time to set it up. And then when, let's say, if they get it, if they're ready to, you're ready to start by, let's say, 10:30 at the latest, the test will still be active. So the problem I was having when I first used ProctorU is the test was active. By the time the proctor got it set up, the test then died. It ran out of time. So I'm not going to do that anymore. So don't treat this 11 p.m. as your ProctorU deadline. Treat 10 p.m. as your ProctorU deadline for making your appointment. So you'll make your appointment and then get set up, and then that way, when they're ready to open the test, it'll be well before 11 p.m. So I learned from my mistake there. So, but the quiz is obviously, but it's a testing center, that doesn't matter. So here's everything's open. Like I said, you can work on it at your own pace. If you want to work ahead, you certainly can. All right, so there's that menu. So let's go back to content. Now the quizzes, after you submit your answers, it'll give you a grade. But you can't look at the quiz just yet. So people get that question. So hopefully this will clarify. Let me go back to that syllabus page. Let's say you make a 90. Let's say you submit it 2 days before it's due. You make a 90. And you're excited to know, which one did I miss? Which one did I miss? Just so that way, obviously if people share answers with each other, before I provide the key, then there's not much I can do about that, but I don't want to provide the answer key before the deadline. Anyway, long story short is everybody will be able to view their quiz 1 hour after the deadline time. So let's say if, I'm just going to make this up off the top of my head without going back to that other screen, but let's say you have a quiz that was due August 3rd at 11 p.m. Even if you submitted it on August 1st, you wouldn't be able to view it until August 4th at 12 a.m. midnight. Everybody will be able to see their quiz at that time. Now, common misconceptions, you can always go back to this if you don't remember this later, but okay, I just kind of explain that, but you can look at this spot. Well, I'll bring it up real quick and see. This just tells you how to enter the quizzes, but I sort of told you that. Oh, okay, yeah, I'd read this. Yeah, about how it may change, talking about changing the order of the answer. So, yeah, I would look at that. I'd look that over. But this is a common mistake that anybody can make. The reviewing the exam quizzes. So even if you paid attention to the fact I just said it's not available till 1 hour after the deadline, no matter when you submit it, I know the instinct for most people, and I've had a lot of students tell me this too, even in face-to-face, you go back to that where I showed you that quizzes menu where the quizzes and the exams were all listed. So you actually click on, like this one, world history quiz, you click on that to take the quiz. That's how you open up the quiz to submit it. So it seems logical that you would go back and click on that again to view it at the deadline, but that's not correct. Clicking on that blue quiz title only is to submit the quiz. What you have to do once you've reached the time it's viewable, is you click this drop down arrow next to it and you click on submissions, and then there'll only be one attempt, and then you'll click on that attempt, and that's what'll show you, your quiz answers. Once again, I know I keep repeating myself, but you can't see them until 1 hour after the deadline. All right, so that's same thing for exams. The exams may not be 1 hour after the deadline. I may wait a day or so before I make those available, maybe a full 24 hours, just in case there's just some sort of technical issue that I have, in case something goes wrong. But just if it's been a day or so and I forgot to open the exam, usually some student will be good about reminding me, hey, you're going to let us, you're going to open up exam 2 so we can see. Yeah, okay, so you can see the results. Yes, but I'll let it probably go at least a day, and then if I forget, just please remind me. One last thing I want to show you is very important in this folder right here. This other resources, that's just a fancy way of saying there's a PDF of a book in here, and that book matches my notes, and it matches, like I said, there's no assignments required from a book, but this gives you PDF access. This is the Larson 10th edition. Oh, 9th edition, which is perfectly fine. And my section numbers for my notes and will match this. So that's certainly. So that way, if you didn't get that other book or didn't want to buy another book, you can use that. So there it is. It'll stay there under other resources. So that was 9th edition, and then I have. And like I said, this is called homework list, but once again, the quiz is the only thing that you submit that's called homework for a grade. This is just a suggested practice list if you had time and wanted to work some of these out, but it'll match that book that I just showed up. And this is where I was talking about that Calc Chat website I mentioned in the syllabus. It shows you sort of. Now, it doesn't mean it shows you every detail, so obviously, you can certainly email me and ask me a question about it. It might not show every step. But it's certainly better than just giving the answer to a problem. Yeah, it's like a printed solution manual. So you see, this shows how but the notes will show this too. That email address is old. Don't use that. Sorry. Use Lone Star email or email me through D2L. Speaking of email, though, sometimes if you I think once we establish a line of communication, I think it's okay, but it may be a bit of a delay if you email. Sometimes it filters out my spam, like other EDUs. I know, like Yahoo.com will go to my spam folder. I mean, I'll get it eventually there, but if you actually email me through if you were in D2L and emailed me through there, there's no way I'll miss it. It'll go straight to my Lone Star, but there could be a slight delay if you're using something where it drops it off in my spam folder. I forgot what I know Yahoo.com does. There's probably a bunch of others that do too. So anyway, but I will find it and respond to you. So there's that. So that's just a suggested practice list. Let's go back to course content here and show you a few other things, and we'll wrap this up here. I thought I had. Oh, okay. I don't have all my Cal 1 notes. I guess I could upgrade that. Important notes from Cal 1. And when I say important notes, anything involving derivatives, antiderivatives, that's the key to Cal 2. A lot of stuff you did in Cal 1 that you will not need. I mean, for example, related rates, we don't need it. If you forgot it, who cares? But obviously, limits, derivatives, and integrals are the key things for preparing us for Cal 2. We're not going to do a lot of the graphing stuff you did in Cal 1. We're not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll come up in a problem, but I'm not. I don't put it on a test. You know, all the kind of uh, increasing, decreasing. I might mention it if it comes up in a certain specific case, but not. We're not doing like a whole section on it or any of the concavity points of inflection. So a lot of that won't be used, but you've got to be able to do basic integration for sure. So look some of that over if you need to, especially integration by substitution. Very, very important, because if you can't do the basic integration by substitution, the more complicated integration by substitution would be impossible. But anyway, so there's notes you can look. So you see, I have all the notes grouped. So if you want to know, hey, what's going to be on exam 1? Well, it's everything that's in this folder for exam 1 notes right here, all the way starting from inverse trig all the way down to this one called work. So that way you know exactly what's going to be in there. There's exam 2. So it's all nice and organized for you, no mysteries. Here's exam 3. Now these last 4 sections are part of the course. In fact, when you look at the final exam list of problems, I think there's 3 problems. I could be wrong, just off memory, but you'll see because they'll come from these numbered sections. It'll say like 10 point whatever. These 4 sections are sections that are not on any of the 3 exams, but like I said, there's a little bit on the final from this. So they'll be after exam 3, but before the final. But the final will include it. So that's all organized. So there's all the notes you need. So you click on one of these, and let's just open it up. Oh, well, you can, if this will happen, I need to convert these over to, when I first did them, mistakenly did them all in landscape, and I hadn't had time to go back and change them all. But anyway, long story short, if you go and use that download I was showing you earlier, it's just download it like this, then you can use, you know, Adobe Reader or whatever, and then rotate it. I don't think, maybe it rotates from where it was, but it certainly should rotate from here. Yeah, there's a little rotate button. This is okay. Yeah, then you can get it looking like the way you want it then, so you don't have to turn your computer around sideways. All right, one of these days I'll have to fix that. So the notes are all organized. I have exam reviews. And I have, forget this, obviously it just means I didn't, don't worry about that, says spring 17. I just haven't had the need to change the review for a while. So here's the actual list of problems. Now, like I said earlier, there's only 20 problems per each of the 3 exams, 25 for the final. So don't freak out if this thing, what is that? Well, it tells you, I guess let's go scroll down here. 43, so this one must have 56 problems total. So no, the exam won't be this long. This has, so there's the document. I think there's a key probably at the bottom of the page. Well, anyway, don't worry about that. They'll show you. So there's the actual problem. So, you know, many of those as you want to try to practice. So there's that. Then I have a PDF file of the same problems, but with my handwritten solutions to the problems. So there you go. But obviously, you want to try to do as many as you can, because if some people say, you know, well, I looked over your answers. That's how I studied for the test. That's no good, you know. That's math is a sport that we have to practice. Maybe other subjects you can just learn them by reading the content, but no, got to practice. But that will, you know, help you if you get stuck. Then these, now I broke these. They're in four different videos. I was having trouble with videos crashing when I made them, and nothing more annoying than you put a lot of work into one video and it crashes. So that way I just did them in segments. So that way, if a segment like that crashed, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I have to do it again. I would hate to have done this in one video and got down to problem 48 and have it crash and have to start over. That'd be terrible. All right, so what this video is is me explaining the file from right up here. So it's written solutions, but me talk. I'm not actually writing out, but I'm using kind of a pointer, follow the bouncing ball. I'm explaining what's what I did, explaining verbally what's going on there. So, and the same thing for each of the other tests. Exam 2, same thing. Video explaining the problems, this, that, and the other. Exam 3, there's the final. And let's see. Oh, load. I was wondering what happened to where the rest of the. Now, one thing I'll go ahead and say now, and sometimes I think of things I'll mention to you in an announcement. But I'll just mention to you this right now. I showed you that list of problems that was going to be on the final. So when you look at this final exam review, when you get to that point, you don't necessarily need to have to do every problem on there. Just kind of work on the things that are listed on those problems. I like to do it that way because if I change out my final from time to time, I don't have to change the review. I can just go to a problem that's on the review and already there. So obviously, if there's a certain topic that's could be on this review that's not on that list of 25 problems, then you can skip it because it will not be on this particular final. But you can see you can click on any of these, so that's good. You got all that. So there's your videos. Now, one thing I have notes. One thing I'm well behind on. I'm going to be working feverishly on here this next week to try to catch up completely within the next week or two. Within a couple of weeks, I should have them all done. But I'll have some Cal 1 videos you can even look at. I'm not up to speed yet on having all the videos ready here for Cal 1. They're not all done. I'm Cal 2, excuse me. So you see I have just I have some sections listed out. I don't have them even grouped by exam yet. I may do that, but they're not finished. But I'm going to be working on them this first week. You see there's a couple of videos there to get the first 3 get us started. So the first 4 or 5 actually are there. So that gives me a little time, but I'll still start working on them this week. And maybe I can get them all done in 1 week that I don't have, or if not, maybe 2 weeks. So that's going to be it. This lecture videos for Cal 2 is going to be updated. And what else do I have? I think that pretty much covers everything. Now some Cal 3 notes that if you feel free, if you want to go in there and use that little download thing I showed you, you can download them and save all those PDFs if you'd like to. If you were going to be taking Cal 3 and you weren't taking me, you were taking someone else. I mean, still if you were taking me, but I'm saying if you're taking me, obviously you'd have the notes in the class. But this would give you, if you wanted, we're taking it somewhere else or whatever, you could feel free to use my notes. So just download them and save them as PDF files for your own. So let me look back up here. So the main things, like I said, course content. Oh, grades is just where your grades are going to be shown. Oh, the exam grades, and I'll announce what the quiz grades will be posted in there as is. The exam grades, because they're multiple choice, I'm going to use a little formula where I adjust each grade. Don't worry about that. I'll tell you what it is as we go. So I will have to manually go back. So obviously you want to keep an eye on the exam grade after it's been adjusted to make sure I adjusted yours correctly based on the formula that I give. That's the only thing I'll be doing manually is going back through there. So so if you take an exam and your exam score was 70, that's just, if I remember correctly, I believe that ends up being an 80 or whatever, but I have to manually go back and type that. So, but the quiz grades won't be adjusted, whatever you get is you get. So main thing here is, so there's the grades thing, look at your grades, and of course course activities. We don't have anything under assignments, attendance, blah, 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 just quizzes. That's where you'll go to submit your quizzes. Like I said, I have no idea what this looks like from the student point of view, since we've switched to this new, whatever it's called, version since early June. Anyway, with that being said, I'll make announcements as they come along. So I'm only an email away, so drop me a line if you have any questions. So hopefully this will help you kind of get started without being totally confused where you're trying to head here. So, all right, best of luck, and drop me a line if you have any questions. Good luck.